Hey everyone. If you're listening to this, you're probably as intrigued as I am about using ChatGPT for automation testing.
Absolutely.
We came across this really interesting blog post from Asambhav Solutions called How to Use ChatGPT for Automation Testing.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
And it just got me thinking like, wow,
Yeah,
things are moving so fast in software development these days,
for sure.
and just keeping up with the testing is so crucial.
It really is. And, ChatGPT could really be a game changer for that whole process.
Yeah.
Making testing faster, more efficient, and in the end, more reliable.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine being able to automate all those time-consuming tasks like writing test scripts or generating test data.
Yeah.
That would free up so much time to focus on actually making the software better.
Okay, so let's just break this down a little bit.
Sure.
When we say ChatGPT, what exactly are we talking about? How does this thing even work?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, when I first heard about using it for something as technical as automation testing, I was like,
Yeah, it's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. It's
Yeah.
almost like imagining you have this incredibly smart intern
okay.
who's read every single book in a massive library. ChatGPT learns by being trained on a huge amount of text data.
Okay.
That's the first step. And then when you give it a prompt, it figures out what you're asking, like it understands the assignment,
Mm-hmm.
and finally uses all that knowledge to create a response, which could be anything from lines of code to a complete test case, or even, insights into some complex programming concept.
Oh, wow. So it's almost like having like a coding buddy
Yeah,
who's not only super knowledgeable, but also like insanely fast at actually creating the stuff you need.
exactly. And, that blog post we mentioned, it highlights some really impressive benefits specifically for using ChatGPT for automation testing.
Okay.
Like one of the biggest challenges for developers is just creating test cases for every possible scenario.
Oh, for sure.
That can take hours or even days.
Yeah, it's super repetitive.
Oh, it's incredibly repetitive.
Yeah.
But ChatGPT can create a wide range of test cases in just minutes based on the specific instructions you give it.
Oh, wow.
So, for example, think about testing a website.
Okay.
You need to see how it works with different users, different browsers, different devices, the list goes on.
Right.
ChatGPT can actually create all those scenarios for you.
Yeah.
So you save a ton of time and effort.
So not only is it faster, but you're also getting much better coverage.
Right. Exactly. Because it can come up with scenarios that you might not even think of.
Yeah.
Which means you're catching more bugs before they reach your users.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
The post also mentions standardized test case formats.
Yes.
Why is that such a big deal?
Well, think about it. If everyone on your team is writing test cases their own way, it becomes a real mess to manage.
Yeah.
ChatGPT generates them in a standardized format. So everything's organized, easy to understand, and ultimately way more efficient.
So it's not just about individual speed, it's about the entire team working better together.
Precisely. And because those test cases are standardized, it's so much easier to integrate them with the existing tools and frameworks your team's already using.
Got it.
Makes everything seamless.
Okay, so let's talk about some real-world applications.
Yeah, let's do it.
The blog post gives some really cool examples of what ChatGPT can actually do.
Uh-huh.
Like actually writing test scripts.
It can?
This is where I'm like, okay, this is getting really interesting.
I know, right? So let's say you're building a website and you want to test the process of someone downloading a brochure.
Okay.
Instead of having to manually click through every single step and write out the code,
Yeah.
you could literally just ask ChatGPT to write a script that simulates a user doing exactly that.
So it's like having a robot user test the website.
Pretty much.
Wait, so can it account for things like, if someone has a slow internet connection or they're using a different browser?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can get as specific as you want in your instructions. You can tell it to simulate different browsers, operating systems, internet speeds, even things like filling out forms or clicking on specific buttons.
Okay, that's pretty amazing.
It is.
And this isn't just for websites, right? What about other applications?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Let's say you're doing research on something like the human gut microbiome, and you need a data set of patients with very specific dietary habits or health conditions.
Okay.
Instead of going through tons of data manually, you could ask ChatGPT to create a table with exactly those parameters.
Wow, so it can actually generate data that researchers can use.
It can create what we call synthetic data,
Okay.
which is realistic and mirrors real-world patterns. Obviously, it's not a replacement for actual patient data,
Great.
but it's incredibly helpful for testing algorithms or running simulations.
Okay, that's incredible. What else can it do? I'm hooked.
Well, have you ever been stuck on a coding problem? Like you're working on a project and you just can't figure out why your code isn't working?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
It happens to the best of us. You could actually show ChatGPT your code, and it could potentially pinpoint the issue and even suggest solutions.
So it's like a coding buddy that can debug your code for you?
In a way, yeah.
I can see why people are so excited about this.
Yeah, it has huge potential.
Okay, so before we get into the limitations of using this,
Sure.
I'm just dying to hear some other applications. What else can it do?
Oh, there's so many. Let's say you're building a system to predict blood types based on parental genotypes.
Oh, okay.
You need to test all the different combinations to make sure your system is accurate. ChatGPT can actually design those test cases for you, covering all the different possibilities.
Wow. So it's not just writing code, it's actually understanding like complex biological concepts.
It is.
And applying that knowledge to testing. That's amazing.
It's really remarkable. It goes back to that massive amount of data it's trained on. It's learned about genetics from all kinds of sources, so it can use that knowledge to help you. And it's not just biology. It can handle things like converting data formats.
Oh.
Like, let's say you need to switch from FASTA format to GenBank for DNA sequences. ChatGPT can write a program to do that in no time.
Okay, I am officially on board.
Good.
ChatGPT has serious potential here.
It does.
But I also know that like any tool, it's not perfect.
Right.
So what are some of the challenges or limitations that we should be aware of?
Yeah, that's a great point. It's not a magic solution.
Yeah.
One thing to remember is that ChatGPT is a generalist.
Okay.
It's learned a lot about a lot of different things, but it doesn't have that same deep, specialized knowledge that a human expert would have in a very specific field.
So it's kind of like having a really smart intern who can jump in and help with a lot of different tasks.
Exactly.
But you wouldn't necessarily give them a super specialized project without some guidance.
Yeah, you want to make sure they have the right expertise for the task.
Right.
And just like with any communication, there's always the possibility of misinterpretations.
Okay.
If you're not clear and specific with your instructions, ChatGPT might not understand what you're asking for.
So just like working with a human teammate.
Yeah.
You got to be precise with your language.
You do.
And set clear expectations.
Exactly. And another thing to keep in mind is that ChatGPT can only simulate real-world conditions to a certain extent.
Okay.
It can't actually interact with your software in real time.
Hmm.
So, for instance, it can write a script to test a website, but it can't tell you how the website will perform under real user traffic.
So it's more about catching those initial errors and making sure the logic is sound.
Right.
Rather than replacing real-world testing altogether.
Exactly.
Got it.
And that's why human validation is still absolutely crucial.
Okay.
You always want to review the code test cases or data that ChatGPT generates and make sure that it meets your specific needs and standards.
So it's like having a really powerful tool that can help you work faster and smarter,
Yes.
but you're still the one in control making those final decisions.
You got it.
Okay, so that brings me to my next question.
Okay.
What are some best practices for using ChatGPT effectively in automation testing?
That's a great question.
Like, what can our listener do to actually get the most out of this tool?
Well, first and foremost, you want to be as specific as possible with your prompts.
Okay.
The more details you provide, the better
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT will understand what you're looking for. It's kind of like giving someone directions. The more landmarks and details you give them, the less likely they are to get lost.
So instead of just saying, write me a test script for a website, you'd want to say something like, write a test script that simulates a user with this specific profile using this browser on this operating system, doing these specific actions.
Precisely. The more details, the better.
Okay.
And don't be afraid to iterate. You can give ChatGPT feedback on its output and ask it to refine things.
So it's a collaborative process.
Absolutely.
Not just like a one and done.
Nope, it's a back and forth.
Okay.
And remember what we said about human validation.
Yeah.
Always double check everything ChatGPT generates. It's a fantastic tool to get you started, but you are the expert on your software and your testing needs.
So it's not about replacing human testers.
Right.
It's about giving them the tools to work more efficiently and effectively.
Exactly. And keep in mind that ChatGPT is constantly being updated and improved. So stay curious, experiment, and see how you can best integrate it into your existing workflows.
So what does all this mean for our listener who's interested in using ChatGPT for automation testing? What's the big takeaway?
I think the biggest takeaway is that ChatGPT has the potential to drastically speed up and improve your testing process. It can help you catch more bugs earlier on and free up your team to focus on the more interesting and challenging aspects of software development.
Yeah, and it's not just about efficiency.
Right.
It's also about expanding what you can do with testing.
Absolutely.
ChatGPT can help you think outside the box and come up with testing scenarios you might never have considered on your own.
That's such a good point. It's about pushing the boundaries of what's possible in automation testing and finding new and creative ways to ensure your software is as robust and reliable as it can be.
Yeah, I'm starting to get why there's so much buzz around this.
Me too.
It's really exciting to think about the possibilities.
It really is. We're just scratching the surface of what's possible with AI in software development. It's going to be fascinating to see how it all evolves.
Okay, so as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Sure.
I want to leave our listener with a final question to think about.
Okay.
Given everything we've talked about, what are some unique or creative ways that ChatGPT could be used in your specific testing process?
It's a fantastic question.
Yeah.
Think outside the box. Could you use it to generate reports, analyze user feedback, or even predict potential issues before they even arise?
Exactly. We've covered a lot today, but there's still so much more to explore. The real excitement is in figuring out how you can leverage this technology to make testing not just more efficient, but truly innovative.
Couldn't agree more.
Really push the boundaries of what's possible.
Exactly.
It's an exciting time to be in software development.
It is.
With all these new tools at our disposal.
For sure.
I can't wait to see what people come up with.
Me neither. Let's say you're building a system to predict blood type based on parental genotypes.
Okay.
You need to test all the different combinations right to make sure your system gets it right every time ChatGPT can actually design those test cases for you, covering all the bases.
Wow. So it's not just writing code, it's
Yeah.
actually understanding complex biological concepts and applying that to testing.
It's really impressive.
That's amazing.
It is. It all comes back to that massive amount of data it's trained on,
Yeah.
It's learned about genetics from so many different sources.
Wow.
So it can use that knowledge to actually help you. And it's not limited to just biology either. It can handle things like converting data formats.
Oh, wow.
Let's say you need to go from FASTA format to GenBank for DNA sequences.
Okay.
ChatGPT can whip up a program to do that in a flash.
Okay. I am officially convinced.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
ChatGPT has some serious potential.
It really does.
But I also know that any tool, it's not perfect.
True.
So what are some of the challenges or limitations that we need to be aware of?
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's not a magic bullet,
Right.
One thing to keep in mind is that ChatGPT is a generalist.
Okay.
So it's learned a lot about a lot of different things,
Hmm.
but it doesn't have that deep specialized knowledge that a human expert would have
Right.
in a particular field.
Okay, so it's kind of like having a really smart intern
Yeah, exactly.
who can jump in and help with a variety of tasks. But you wouldn't necessarily throw them into a super specialized project
Right.
without some guidance.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't want to put them in a position where they're in over their heads.
Right.
And just like with any type of communication, there's always a chance for misinterpretations.
Okay.
If you're not super clear and specific with your instructions, ChatGPT might misunderstand what you're asking.
So just like working with a human teammate,
Exactly.
you got to be really clear with your language.
Yes, you have to be very precise.
Set clear expectations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And another thing to remember is that ChatGPT can only simulate real-world conditions to a certain point.
Okay.
It can't actually interact with your software in real time.
Hmm.
So for example, you can write a script to test a website,
Right.
but it can't actually tell you how that website's going to perform under real user traffic.
So it's more about catching those initial errors.
Yeah.
Making sure the logic is sound.
Precisely.
Rather than replacing real-world testing entirely.
Exactly. It's a great tool for the initial stages, but you still need real-world testing to get the full picture.
Gotcha. And that's why human validation is still so important.
Oh, absolutely. You always want to review the code, the test cases, the data that ChatGPT generates, and make sure that it actually meets your specific needs and standards.
So it's kind of like having this super powerful tool that can help you work faster and smarter.
It is.
But you're still the one in control,
You got it.
making the final decisions.
Exactly. You're the captain of the ship.
I like that analogy. Okay, so that brings me to my next question.
Okay, what is it?
What are some best practices for using ChatGPT effectively in automation testing? What can our listener do to really get the most out of this tool?
Well, first and foremost, you want to be as specific as possible with your prompts. The more detailed you are, the better ChatGPT is going to understand what you're looking for. It's like giving someone directions right. The more landmarks and details you give them, the less likely they are to get lost.
So instead of just saying, write me a test script for a website,
Right.
you'd want to say something like, write a test script that simulates a user
Yes.
with this specific profile using this browser on this operating system, doing these specific actions on the website.
Exactly. The more details, the better.
Got it.
And don't be afraid to iterate. You can actually give ChatGPT feedback on its output and ask it to refine things.
So it's a collaborative process.
It is. It's a back and forth.
Very cool. And you mentioned this before, but I think it's worth repeating. Human validation is key.
Oh, absolutely. It's crucial. Always double-check everything that ChatGPT generates. It's a fantastic tool to help you get started, but ultimately, you are the expert on your software and your testing needs.
So it's not about replacing human testers.
Nope, not at all.
It's about empowering them
Exactly.
to work more efficiently and effectively.
Got it. And remember, ChatGPT is constantly being updated and improved, so stay curious, experiment, and see how you can best integrate it into your existing workflows.
Okay, so for our listener who's really interested in using this, what's the big takeaway here?
The biggest takeaway is that ChatGPT has the potential to really speed up and improve your testing process. It can help you find more bugs earlier on, free up your team to focus on the more interesting and challenging parts of software development.
And it's not just about efficiency either. It's about expanding what you can actually do with testing.
Absolutely.
Like ChatGPT can help you think outside the box.
It can.
And come up with testing scenarios that you might never have thought of on your own.
That's such a great point. It's about pushing the boundaries of what's possible with automation testing and finding creative new ways to make sure your software is as strong and reliable as it can possibly be.
Yeah, I'm starting to get why there's so much excitement around this.
Yeah, it's really cool technology.
It's pretty exciting to think about the possibilities.
It is. It really is. We're just scratching the surface of what's possible with AI and software development. I can't wait to see what the future holds.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Sure.
I want to leave our listener with a final question to ponder.
Okay, I'm ready.
Given everything we've talked about, what are some really unique or creative ways that ChatGPT could be used in your specific testing process?
Ooh, that's a great question. Think outside the box. Could you use ChatGPT to generate reports, analyze user feedback, or even predict potential issues before they even happen?
Yeah, exactly. We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still so much more to explore. The real excitement is in figuring out how you can use this technology to make testing not just more efficient, but truly innovative, really push the boundaries of what's possible. It's an exciting time to be in software development with all these new tools at our disposal. I can't wait to see what people come up with. It's like we've handed you this amazing toolbox, and now it's your turn to go build something awesome.
Exactly.
And hey, we're here to support you every step of the way.
Yeah.
This whole deep dive was created specifically for you based on your interest in ChatGPT for automation testing.
We hope this has been helpful for you and maybe even spark some ideas you can start using right away.
Yeah. What really stood out to you?
I'm curious to know.
Was it that whole time-saving aspect of generating test cases or the way ChatGPT can help you find those tricky little edge cases that you might have missed?
Yeah.
Or maybe it was just the sheer potential of this whole technology to totally change how we approach testing in general.
It really is a game changer.
And remember, there are tons of resources out there to help you get started. That Asambhav Solutions blog post we talked about, that's a fantastic starting point.
Yeah, it's a great resource.
And there are also online communities, forums, tutorials where you can learn from other developers and testers who are already using ChatGPT.
Absolutely. There's a whole community out there.
So yeah, don't be afraid to experiment. The great thing about a tool like this is you can try different things, see what works, and just keep refining your approach.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
Who knows, you might even stumble upon a totally new use case that nobody has even thought of before.
You never know what you might discover.
This field is evolving so quickly, and that's what makes it so exciting.
Yeah.
We're really just at the beginning of what AI can do in software development.
It's incredible to think about.
I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Me neither. It's going to be wild.
So to our listener out there, go explore, experiment, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with ChatGPT. And remember, the most important thing is to stay curious.
Absolutely. Curiosity is key.
And never stop learning. We'll be back soon with another deep dive on a topic we think you'll find fascinating. Until then, happy testing, everyone.